All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Frostside Chat. This is our weekly live streamed post-session discussion where we talk about what just happened during D&D. This is chat for session 48. If you've not watched that session yet, please go do that now because there will be spoilers. We're actually really close to two landmarks. We're almost at session 50, and I'm almost at 5K subscribers.
Wow.
I'm your DM, Eric, and joining me is Valravn's player, Chris.
Hello.
And Edmund's player, Raymond.
Hello.
So, you know those D&D fights, and I've talked about this before, and I think we've discussed this on chats before, that there's a lot of damage getting thrown around, and the fights don't take too long, and it's real exciting and cool and dynamic. This was the opposite of that, which was not my intention. But, yeah, unfortunately, it ended up being just a long, drawn-out battle with a lot of hit points, and it was a lot of debuffs getting thrown around on both sides, like fearing and slowing and all that.
Yeah,
and these creatures have damage resistance, a lot of them, and for some reason you guys just couldn't hit those ghost wolf swarms very well. And the other hand, I just had so much trouble hitting anybody, especially with the swarms once they appeared. So it just ended up. But all these creatures have, an average of 100 hit points each. So it just took a long time to get through it. It just took
a while, yeah.
And unfortunately didn't really get exciting until maybe that last half hour when I finally started doing some scary damage and people are losing chunks. But yeah, there was a point where it was like an hour into this fight and like nobody had you guys had hardly taken any damage whatsoever.
I mean, the beginning of the fight was because it was like we were like doing all our things.
Yeah.
We were getting all our shit off and
I think we were also spreading the damage quite a bit.
That's true.
For sure.
But Edmund had done a laser blast and I was slowing people and, Frey was in the middle of everybody and the Earth Elemental was in there and that so like the first half hour for the fight was pretty fun for us. It did get a little sloggy in the middle, I think, where no one was hitting anyone for like a while. I'm not sure why that was. It was just dice, I guess.
Just the dice, yeah. And on both sides, it was, dice was kind of fucking up for a while. You're right. The beginning was exciting. You guys were throwing out a lot of ability, which is fun to see when you realize, like, oh, this is a big fight. We need to pull the nitrous, and I'm gonna do the arm cannon. I'm gonna summon the Earth Elemental. I'm gonna use the Gem of Brightness. I'm gonna throw all my sticks of dynamite. Like, the DM loves to see that because that means I've given you guys a proper threat that you have assessed and been like, I need to pull out my like very limited use stuff to do this fight, which certainly worked out in your favor and swung things very rapidly in your favor, despite what I try to do, which is this feeling of like, oh shit, there's just more and more monsters spawning, and they're all pretty big and.
We did kind of feel that way at one point when I think about the time that the mammoth showed up. It was like, oh, okay, there's a lot here.
And so I'll say for this location, this is from the book, and similar to Dark Duchess, where I ran the bones of the location close, but I had to scale it up because you guys are much higher level. So like the previous one is like you fight, your party fights one frost giant skeleton. I'm like, all right, well, we can increase that quite a bit. And then I had the idea of okay, in the original text, the skeletons are the ones that do that freezing stare, but you have to choose between doing that or their multi attacks. So I'm like, fuck that, I'll make that a layer action that the ghosts are doing, so that basically they can always do it every round, which was huge. Although you guys made the saves left and right, which certainly helped you guys quite a bit.
That was,
only at the very end, which, if you notice, I was legit like, I guess you can't, on my end, I'm selecting everybody and then clicking that token fate button. But during the last, at the beginning, I was trying to use it tactically. Like, the giants are paying attention, they're staring at people, like, that would fuck you guys the most. And then afterwards, I was like, fuck it, we'll randomly select somebody.
Yeah, random select, yeah.
Yeah, which Thimbleweed was the worst one for you guys because he's got the most important concentration.
Right.
And that was the biggest effect. Yeah, if you fail that one, you're paralyzed, and that is huge. And you're thinking, man, if you do that and then all those people wail on you, like it's auto crits, like I'm just thinking, man, this could be so deadly. And then everybody just kept making that save.
Which is just the dice, right? Like I feel like that fight.
Yeah, and on the other hand, when you cast slow, like all my people failed, and that's just a dice thing too. And so many of them were just slowed for so long, and And that all was fine. I mean, the slow spell drives me crazy, but it's a great spell, and you do a good job of staying in the back and using it fully. The only part that really, when I started getting frustrated, was when I had my one non-slowed wolf swarm with 3 attacks miss all 3 attacks back-to-back rounds. I was like, fuck, that feels bad. Because they're not even big attacks. It's supposed to get these little, it's a little chippy, creature that just attacks a lot and that damage adds up. And it just could not attack at all. So I was like,
it could never actually do it.
Yeah, slog. And it's got the damage resistance, which is interesting because it's just flat damage resistance against any of the like melee attacks. Not even non-magic, it's just straight up damage resistance, which is huge against you guys because you don't have a whole lot of elemental damage being dealt.
No, we don't, yeah.
Although I realized Celeste can basically instantly just change to Radiant, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys were not doing a whole lot of damage. Oh, and the Earth Elemental also, holy shit, that was a great idea from Thimbleweed because that, not only does that thing, it does a ton of damage, but the skeletons have vulnerability to bludgeoning damage. So, holy shit, it was just dealing double damage. So that 17 suddenly was a 34 damage on those skeletons. It was just absolutely wrecking shit once that thing was doing its thing. So that was a huge move. Which is why, if you notice, I don't think I ever attacked the Earth Elemental. I did finally, acquiesce to attacking the cat a few times, but I was like, the ghosts are, trying to, tactically, I'm trying to keep the action on you guys, and...
Yeah.
It's something I could have done if it swung too hard and you guys are getting beat up too much. Like, all right, well, we can attack the Earth Elemental a little bit, but you guys...
Sure, yeah, but because it was so far in our face...
Yeah, you were kicking ass so much. My initial worry was you guys would never enter the arena, which happened initially, and especially with Valravn, her getting you out of the arena, which was funny. So I devised the whole circle thing, and it would attack people, and that ended up working out pretty well because you kind of treated it as an environmental hazard, and you actually had to use a thing to teleport Thimbleweed inside, and you all ran through and actually took a little bit of damage from that. That was a big source of damage during the early.
Oh, yeah.
But it was to prevent you guys from just staying outside and just affecting things inside, and then leaving one person.
Well, because how is it worded in the book?
It's not. There's nothing in there. That's something I added.
But what are the mechanics of the summoning, and will the enemy walk out of the ring in the book?
It's not in the book.
What is in the book?
It's just there's a fight here. There's nothing about nothing mechanically important about this area, which is I added all that to it.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, we could have just stood outside and just pelted it from afar or something.
No, you couldn't have done that because I had that ring was supposed to obscure your vision completely.
Sure, right.
You probably could have been like, well, can I blind fire in there? And I've been like, yeah, you can do disadvantage attacks or something.
But then you're just as liable to hit your allies at that point.
Yeah, that could happen. I did have notes though, because I was I thought at the last minute I was like, oh, I guess you could try to dispel it. But
I thought about that, yeah.
But it would have been tricky. It would have been a fairly high level spell, so it would have taken a skill check to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, slow is Jason. Slow is painful because it has so many factors involved. The -2 to AC is very tricky when you have a lot of creatures. And then I forget. I mean, God, it was so good to do that on these creatures too, because the wolves literally have 3 multi attacks.
3? I didn't realize that. I just saw the
and then they have that special bonus action on their first turn they can use to fear everybody. So I basically had to only do that for the one creature. I was like, I still want to get this off, and yeah, it was a great move and great timing on your part, because it was that really swung the pendulum even further in your direction.
Yeah.
Which, I had realized you guys weren't really challenged that much in terms of resources in that whole last area, so...
That's true, yeah. So we had a lot of resources to throw around.
Yeah, I expect you guys to go hard, which is why I had so many creatures here. I was like, let's just do 1 per ghost and summon 7 creatures. And I thought, okay, let's use, thematically appropriate creatures for the Frost Giants to utilize. The Frost Giant skeletons are from this campaign. The Woolly Mammoth Zombie is something I made up, but you can easily modify any creature by taking its stat block and doing the same modifications. Like its Undead Fortitude didn't fucking matter at all in the end.
No, because it was just such a huge attack.
Stupid Earth Elemental. But you know what? The Earth Elemental will get its revenge because now it's hostile against you guys, and that's gonna suck because you've seen how powerful that thing is.
Yeah.
And then the Wolf Spirit Swarms are from the Tome of Beasts, from Cobalt Press's Tome of Beasts.
Oh, is it? Okay, nice.
Yes, I forgot who, but we were looking at creatures during one of the crafting streams, and they pointed out that as a possible creature, I was thinking, okay, Winter Wolves are associated with Frost Giants a lot, and maybe I could do like a Ghost Wolf or something like that, and then we looked at it, I was like, oh, this, even like their abilities, like I didn't have to reflavor it, it's like literally Icy Doom and all that is part of their abilities. I'm like, fuck it, we'll just flavor this as like a swarm of Winter Wolves.
Nice.
So yeah, the plan was just to do a big old-fashioned arena battle with a bunch of, you know, fairly high-level, big, meaty, undead creatures in this one area. And just because of the way the dice went and the amount of debuffs getting thrown around, just ended up taking a long time with not a lot of danger for you guys until towards the end, when I think I just hit a few more times, and then that freezing stare, you know, hit, and
yeah,
and only at the end did I feel like it was really doing some stuff.
Yeah. We were kind of, and we were, because they were so large and the arena was relatively small too. There was a lot of like, no, there was a little moving around at one point, you know, like the for them or us, but I think it affected them more, where they couldn't. I never got really attacked too much because I wasn't like, just sequestered in a back corner, and
there's a lot of big creatures that couldn't maneuver. Yeah, you were at a good tucked spot. But you're right. A lot of times, what makes a fight interesting are the environmental and the map, and this one didn't necessarily lend itself to that. It was supposed to be an arena, and the fun, you know, arena effect was the freezing stare, but that was, you know, just something that affects you every round. I guess that first round, a lot of the party had to make their way inside, so that makes it interesting because the circle, which, by the way, I used the Invisible Stalker as the stat block for attacking you guys.
Okay. Right. Yes.
Because in the original text, the entire fight is 1 Frost Giant Skeleton and then 2 Invisible Stalkers. So I changed that and said, you know, I modified that and said, okay, well, we'll leave the Invisible Stalkers. They're just like, that's how I'm going to rule the Ring of Blizzard is.
Right.
When you pass through there, essentially 1 Invisible Stalker attacks you and they hit twice for that damage.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That worked. Not everything has to be a save.
That's right.
And yeah, and the Mammoth Zombie wasn't any harder than the other creatures, really. And I thought about using some kind of more powerful big creature, but I'm like, honestly, this feels like more of a wave thing. I mean, I don't know. I went back and forth. I mean, in hindsight, I guess I should have used a more powerful creature, but maybe not, because this fight still took forever. I just don't think the Mammoth Zombie was able to do anything effective. You guys trashed it pretty easy.
Did it actually ever get an attack off? It tried to stomp Frey.
It did. I think it hit with its 1 attack when it stomped on Frey, but she's an enraged barbarian who regenerates health. Like, attacking her was... Yeah. Technically, I did it because, you know, that's what she was the only one in there, and the enemies would have swarmed her first, and they just don't know, and they're still trying to take her out. But I know, as the DM in the back of my head, I'm like, it is almost pointless to attack her because she's raging against all this damage, which normally would be pretty good, but she's also regenning 10 hit points every turn. Like, it's just never going to happen unless, like, every single creature surrounds her, maybe.
Right.
And sure enough, I don't even think, and I think she said she never got down to half health in this fight, despite tanking all that damage. But the rest of you started taking some nice damage.
I do wonder, like, well, no, I did have. She would have gotten destroyed eventually, because that paralyzing stare. That's the one thing where I was like, okay, she could probably just do fine on her own in there. But then I was like, oh, if she ever gets paralyzed, then she's just
that would shut everything down. Everybody's suddenly like critically hitting you, like you. Yeah, it's a big fucking deal. It's not the highest save to hit, and a lot of people have pretty decent con saves, as was proven tonight, where you guys were making those con saves left and right.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I will say I added the effect of it doing half damage on a failed save, because normally the As Written did not have that. And I was like, you know what? That's part of the scaling up of this encounter. It's still going to do that damage. And I also, weirdly enough, rolled very good damage for it every single time. Because I think the average was like 30, and that was like the minimum damage I rolled for that thing. So I still like all the combat modifications I made and scaled up. I
Yeah.
think just the way the dice went and just I think the way your party is optimized, the way you do kind of these crowd control debuff abilities, it just ends up turning a fight against a bunch of big, hefty creatures into a little bit more of a slog. What I should have done as the DM is I should have turned off the Wolf Swarm's damage resistance earlier than I did. Wasn't until I looked at like 12:30, I was like, oh, I'm, whatever the next two like decent hits are going to be, you're going to kill these things.
Right.
They both still had like 20 hit points or something at the end because every time, and so much of this was melee attacks. Thimbleweed was stabbing, and
Yes.
Frey's attack and the Earth Elemental's punch, all of that is half damage. The only thing that was
Right.
full damage was the few times like they would do, a cone or something of an ability, and then Celeste's Radiant Strikes. And I was just having all that. So every time Thimbleweed's, 12 damage or 17 damage, I'm having all that damage on them, and they have 100 hit points. So that's why why they survive so long. And given the trajectory of the fight, I probably should have turned that off like a round earlier at least.
Yeah, I've had a similar problem with honestly any creatures that have like high resistance and like high HP. It's like their design is like, okay, we're gonna just be around for a while. It's
which
sometimes you got an assassin rogue. I'm gonna do damage to them in one hit, and sometimes you don't.
And they're built to where they're supposed to be out on the field for a while. Their Icy Doom is a recharge ability, which I did get back, I think once or twice, and was able to do that again, which is just an AoE thing around them. But they're meant to do these little hits left and right. The problem is I was just never hitting with them, so they were just kind of sticking around as bullet sponges.
Mm-hmm.
So, I should have paced the fight a little bit better, but I think it's just partly the way the dice went. And I did enjoy seeing you guys.
I think it's a lot.
Them.
Yeah, it was fun to unload on them. I do think, a lot of the any problems with the fight, a lot of it had to do with the way the dice rolled. Mm-hmm. It was just you weren't hitting, and then we weren't doing a ton of damage, and it was just yeah.
Ray, I loved your shenanigans with the fucking tiger. That was amazing from
it's pretty good.
From fucking round one. Just mount on this thing and use its pounce ability and all that. I was half expecting you to use your action, just throw out more creatures just to see if you could get something similar that you could just lead a pack.
I mentioned that last time, but the thing is, you can only do one bonus action, right? Mm-hmm. So even if you have 3 animals, you can't control all of them. I have to use my bonus action to make a command, but I don't think I could command multiple.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So I realized at some point, I'm like, all right, I'll just keep it with the one at a time sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess in theory, if you were fighting a dumb enemy, you could still throw something out in the hopes that it would just soak up damage.
True.
Even though these were mindless enemies, I was trying to play them more tactically because they were being like commanded by the giant ghosts. Since the giant ghosts weren't actual combatants.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
I do love that the very first creature you got out of that bag is just like the second to best thing you could possibly get.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, this is my mount now, and I'm going to ride around and do shit with it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's got 50 hit points, and it hits pretty well. It attacks pretty well, and it's got that cool pounce ability. Like, this is a solid fucking creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong animal.
Both summons did a lot of work, and all your various abilities did a lot of work. Everybody pulled out like all their shit, which, like I said, that's always fun to see as a DM. You're like seeing all your players use all their toys and stuff. The bad fights are the ones where players are like, all right, we'll just basic attack every single round.
Yeah.
Which did kind of end up happening a little bit later on in the fight, and
it did. And Rochelle brought up a point that I've actually read about the monks before, but she kind of clarified it in a way. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like the monk is like all of the monk's special abilities are like, after you attack as a bonus action, do this. After you attack as a bonus action, do this. So it's like, all right, I guess I'm just basic attacking every turn, because if I don't, then
I can't do my things. Yeah,
I can't do my things.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's just kind of how that class is built, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. They're built to just sort of
super,
be like a punching.
You're the auto attacker, but you get to also occasionally do other things. Yeah. Yeah, which, I mean, it's funny how early in the fight she had such a problem hitting, and then later in the fight, when she did like 4 or 5 attacks in a row, she just hit with like all of them, and then all of a sudden like a shit ton of damage.
Suddenly it was, yeah.
Like, whoa, okay. Yeah, so this place is not over yet, but, well, and the fight's not over yet, because now you gotta deal with the Earth Elemental.
That's true.
Which I'll just keep you guys in this current initiative order. And we'll just keep going from there.
Yep.
But yeah, I when I was looking at this, I figured this was going to be one of those, hey, this fight is going to be the session, but I didn't expect to take an extra long session.
Yeah.
Which guy, the Earth Elemental doesn't even go till last, so there you go. You got plenty of opportunity.
We got some time to handle it.
Yep. To deal with that. Anything else about this fight? The beginning part of the Jarlmoot? Or it better be worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wonder.
There better be one magic weapon for each of us.
You guys got a pretty good haul from the dragon horde, although you did not get all the items.
That's true.
But yeah, you still got some good stuff there. I mean, at this point, that's kind of the point of doing these areas. Although I am looking at milestone stuff and saying, okay, when you do a certain number of these, you will also level up. So technically, even though you're not literally getting experience, you are getting experience in my mind in terms of how I'm leveling you guys up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I will definitely spend another session in this area. We might be able to wrap it up. Actually, it's not a huge area.
Oh, okay. So we're not gonna have another big fight at the end, because I didn't like. I don't know if I thought of that when we were in the fight, but then at the end of the fight, I was like, oh, there's more to this. I was literally like, my item management was, you know how you get to the end boss and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna use fucking everything because we're at the end.
I appreciate that. I will say that is the only way I can really challenge you guys, is to stretch that adventuring day as long as possible and really make sure you've got a huge number of encounters before you return and get to do that long rest. And so far, I think that's been pretty good balance wise, and now I feel better about all the damage you guys have taken. From Dark Duchess, it was hardly anything, but now I'm feeling like, okay, this is feeling a little better now with the resources you've spent. I will just say the adventuring day is not over yet, but yes, I am aware of all the things you had to do in this fight. All right, I think that will wrap it up, since it's already after 1 a.m. Where we are in the Central Time Zone, and where Chris is in the Central Time Zone now too.
That's right.
Welcome to the CST.
Just far, far north of where you guys are.
I don't know if we're in CDT or Daylight. Yeah.
CT, yeah.
Yeah, it's a CT. All right, that will do it for this week's Frostside chat. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. I am Eric, and we will see you all next week.
See you next week.